So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Brexit voters may not be happy with what immigration looks like. And we've covered a similar article before. This one's different in quite a few ways. It's far more better than the other article we read previously. And he talks about more, the author, which is Sebastian Payne, I think it is. Yeah, talks more about how Priti Patel's kind of role in the Home Office, why she was picked. Essentially, she was meant to be more right wing on immigration, etc. It does also talk about how the idea that Brexit voters, the Tories are afraid of a Nigel Farage type figure who's very right wing on immigration. As the Tories said, they will get immigration figures down, but they really haven't. The pandemic does mask it, but overall the numbers aren't what the racists would want. Let's put it that way. So Priti Patel was chosen as Johnson's Home Secretary. Liberal opinion was affronted. What possible logic could there be? So it went in putting one of the Conservative Party's tub thumpers and one with a patchy managerial record. Let's not forget she was sacked by Theresa May for some really not great things at the helm of Whitehall's most dysfunctional department, because the Tories promised to get immigration down to the tens of thousands, but they failed to do so. Simple. One of the Prime Minister's aides told me at the time, you can never be too right-wing on immigration and law and order. That's not actually true. But I suppose if you're looking at it from a populist point of view or a racist point of view, they're not wrong. The advisor argued that Team Johnson thought the true centre ground on public opinion on immigration was to the right of where Westminster thinks. So essentially saying the public opinion of immigration is very right-wing compared to the Whitehall interpretation or the Whitehall kind of idea of where immigration is in public opinion, if that makes sense. Essentially, the public have very right-wing views on immigration because they're a bit racist. Before 2016's referendum, immigration caused splitting headaches for the mainstream party. Labour under Ed Miliband and the Tories under David Cameron devoted the earlier part of the last decade of pledging controls without much will or ability to deliver them, which is true. I remember there was Yvette Cooper holding a mug saying, vote Labour, control immigration, or something to that effect, which isn't really what Labour should be advocating for, let's be honest here. When she arrived at the Home Office in 2019, Patel pushed ahead with a vaunted points-based system inspired by Australia that she hoped would calm the debate and win it for her side. The problem is, with the points-based immigration system, like we've talked about before, once you have enough points, you can come here with no problem. The points-based system isn't designed to keep out all immigrants. It's designed to keep out specific kinds of immigrants that don't have the skills the economy really, really needs. So in the UK's example, we need lorry drivers. We need nurses, we need doctors, we need electricians, plumbers, etc. And according to the government, apparently we need ballet dancers. Weird. The first year of the new system recorded a significant rise in the numbers of non-EU migrants into the UK. According to the Home Office, the number of work-related visas rose by a quarter, and that wouldn't just be for non-EU workers, that'd be for EU workers as well, because all of them would need visas. The ones that have residency, etc., the ones who want to come here for temporary roles or permanent roles, they would need visas. So the number of visas going up is not surprising. Lowering the skill and salary requirements needed to come to the UK, which has happened gradually as the policy has been revised over time, has done exactly what you think, exactly what you would expect. The numbers rose again because the salary requirements are one thing, but there are also other ways to get around the salary requirements. Because under the salary requirements, you need to make about 25,000, whilst a nurse's starting salary is around 20,000, so we would exclude nurses. Even though he has long departed, Patel is putting to test the theory of one Dominic Cummings. Dominic Cummings argued that handing domestic politicians a say over immigration policy would drain the poison from the issue and neutralise the far right. And I read that a bit, and I don't really know what he's talking about. Is he kind of saying that by taking away freedom of movement and handing immigration over to British officials would help, even though whilst members of the EU we did have controls over immigration. Once there's democratic control of immigration policy, which we already had for the most part, immigration will go back to being a second or third tier order issue, which is not true at all. I think it's still a major issue. But he goes, what if Brexit voters wanted lower numbers, not just control? Which is true, because the Tories promised to bring immigration down in the tens of thousands. So it's not just about control, it is about lower numbers. That's the thing, because the Tories keep talking about record numbers of vacancies. what else are the Tories going to think? Unemployment's at a certain number. There are record numbers of vacancies. That means, by their own stupid logic, there are enough people in this country to do the roles and get unemployment down to say 1% or closer to zero, right? But that's not how unemployment works. You've got skills, you've got geography, you've got so many things to think about, which some Conservatives don't understand. The British Social Attitude Survey reported that 77% of Britons wanted less immigration. The vast majority of people wanted less immigration. Over half stated they want it reduced by a lot. A lot isn't quantity. It's not a number, you can't quantify it, but they want it down, I think, into the tens of thousands. Having control over these movements of people was central to Theresa May and subsequently Johnson's Brexit negotiating strategies on exiting the EU is one of the chief reasons continued membership of the single market for the UK became politically impossible, because freedom of movement is one of the key tenets of the single market. I believe it's free movement of goods, services, people and capital. So that's one of the reasons why we couldn't have stayed in the single market, and I think it's one of the reasons why we wouldn't be able to rejoin the single market if the EU allowed it. I know people get annoyed when people in Britain think, we can just rejoin the single market and the customs union, etc. It's like, that's not. It's a two-way street. They have to accept us. I know people get annoyed about that, and to be fair, I do as well. It's British exceptionalism at its finest, but I don't think under the Tories would be able to rejoin the single market if we were allowed to because of freedom of movement. There are fears in Tory circles that for Patel's tough talk, the points-based system is too liberal and may prompt a reckoning with the party's electoral base, now dominated by Leave voters, which is true. A lot of the Tories now, a lot of their voters in the Red Wall, some of them are, voted for Brexit, and some of them would have voted for, quote, immigration controls. Nick Timothy, someone we've spoken about a fair bit on the channel, once a senior Tory aide in the Home Office and Downing Street under Theresa May, reckons the government is storing up big problems with public opinion. Even though the new barriers to entry to the UK have created a labour shortage in several sectors, we are seeing the creation of an immigration system that is incredibly liberal. Not really liberal as far as the Conservatives think anyways, let's be real here. Without a plan to deal with the numbers in terms of housing and infrastructure, he says, because at the end of the day, the Tories don't care about housing and infrastructure. That's pretty much the top and bottom of it. Under the Tories, those things have gotten really bad. Our infrastructure sucks, our housing sucks, our public services suck, everything sucks here, apart from Tory donors. The control versus quantity question speaks to a tension in the Brexit campaign never addressed, which is true. No one talked about the end of freedom of movement, at least not back then. They talked about control and blah, 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 but, freedom of movement, I don't think it was majorly on the table. Many who voted for Brexit did so for illiberal purposes, which is true. Before and during the referendum, Johnson extolled how much he liked immigration. Nigel Farage, the leader of the UK Independence Party, UKIP, figurehead of the more populist campaign to leave, focused entirely on driving it down, which is true. The split may come back to haunt the Tories if the issue is adopted by a right-wing challenger party. The issue is that the people who funded at least in my opinion anyways, I could be wrong on this one, in my opinion, the people who funded the Brexit party in 2019 told the Brexit party to stand down in certain seats and wanted the Tories to win. So I don't think those people who backed the Brexit party in 2019 would want a challenger right-wing party to the Tories, because let's be honest here, in the centre and in the left, there are lots of different parties competing with each other. You've got the Lib Dems, who are concentrating on the centre-right, centre-left vote. You've got, obviously, Labour, who are focusing on the centre-left, left-wing vote. Maybe not so much anymore. You've got the Green Party, who have, I think, more of the left-wing vote. I have to go through the Green Party manifesto. And you have a couple of other smaller parties that typically go for that. Even, you can argue UKIP went for they were right-wing populists, so they were going for right-wing votes, but also left votes as well, because people have skewed interpretations on immigration. If Farage latches onto an issue that splits the right of centre vote in England, even by a few points, Johnson cannot win the next general election, which is true. The right-wingers have never had a real consistent threat to them, apart from UKIP. Hence Patel and Johnson pushing ahead with the controversial idea of offshoring immigration to Rwanda, which I don't think will happen for the most part. I've seen even Isabel Oakeshott talk about how, she likes the policy, which, of course she's dumb, but, she doesn't think it's going to happen, and she's got a lot of connections in the Tory party. It's no coincidence that Farage has devoted hours of his broadcasting to small boats of immigrants crossing from France. I think the main reason he's doing that is not because he wants to make a challenger party to the Tories, but I think he's doing that because he knows this is the only way to keep his name in the news, really. And it's easy content for him. He's not going to talk about the massive queues in Dover for exports or in Calais for exports to the UK. He's not going to talk about our struggling GDP or our falling exports, etc. This is all he can talk about. The government has powers to reduce immigration, which is true. It can reduce it. It can make it zero if it wanted to. But it's chosen not to for understandable economic reasons, because we're facing record vacancies and we have huge skill shortages. In fact, Johnson talked up more immigration on his trip to India. He wanted Indians to get easier access to visas in the UK. The deal with the hundreds of thousands of skill shortages in the UK. Some Brexit voters may ask, is this the control we voted for? Their significant tally of votes might then be up for grabs, but the thing is, it'll be up for grabs typically for, the UKIP party, or the Reform UK party, whatever the hell Farage wants to call his party. But the simple fact is, unless there is a challenger vote for him, Johnson comfortably has the right-wing vote and the centre-right vote, which is a problem. But maybe some of these Brexit voters won't turn up, or maybe they'll vote for the right-wing parties, other right-wing parties, out of protest vote, because they don't like what the Tories are doing on Brexit, because this isn't the Brexit they voted for. They wanted a more racist, more controlling Brexit. But the points-based system isn't all it's cracked up to be, because it allows a lot of people to come in as long as they've got the skills that the UK needs. And Brexiters say, we don't want to keep everyone out, we just want to train up people here and supplement that with immigration, except they're not training people here. Skills, trade courses are incredibly expensive. You're talking hundreds, maybe even thousands of pounds a year to, get trained up to be a carpenter, electrician, etc., plumber. People don't have that sort of money, so that means you have to put them on the skill shortage list, but then you don't solve the main problems we have in this country, which is an education system that's not very good. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can. Let me know what you think of this article. It's quite interesting, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.